Okay, everyone, welcome back to Eureka Math. This is sixth grade math. This is module number 2, and this is lesson number 10. Okay, so lesson number 10 is the distributive property and the products of decimals. Okay, so in this lesson, we're gonna start getting into some basic concepts of algebra. Okay, so one of those concepts is it's here the distributive property. What is the distributive property? So the distributive property tells us that when you have a number, right, and then you have another group of numbers, say b plus c, this is equal to, you can distribute the a into the both of those numbers, right? So then we'll say a times b, so we can say a times b. Then we have plus, right? We have this plus symbol, and then we distribute the a into the b because it's multiplying the a into the c because it's multiplying c. So a times c. Okay, so one thing to note is that in the world of algebra, keep in mind we use parentheses to indicate multiplication, and we use also the dot to indicate multiplication. So we can say 2 times 3, or we can say 2 times 3. Now when we use variables, we can also say a times b, or we can just simply say a times b, right? We don't need to indicate anything in between if it's only variables. The reason is because in algebra, multiplication is the default operation. Okay, so now that we have that there, let's go ahead and begin the first the opening exercise. Okay, so in the opening exercise, I have 200 times 32.6. I'm actually going to solve this using the regular arithmetic model. Okay, so using arithmetic, we have 200 times 32.6. Okay, now when we when we do multiplication using arithmetic, personally, when there is decimals, I like to pretend that there is no decimals. And then once I get the final answer, then we put the decimals in the correct place. So for now, let's just pretend there is no decimals. And then at the end, we'll put the decimal in the right place. Okay, so first we start with the 6. So we multiply 6 times 0. So 6 times 0 will give us 0. Then 6 times 0, that gives us 0. Then 6 times 2, that gives us 12. Now I'm going to go ahead and put a placeholder because I'm going to now work with the 2. So let's put a placeholder there. So now I'm going to say 2 times 0. That gives me 0. Then 2 times 0. That gives me 0. Then 2 times 2. That gives me 4. Now let's go ahead and work with the third number. But when we work with the third number, I have 2 numbers to the right and I need 2 placeholders. So that's 1 placeholder, that's a second placeholder. Okay, so let's go ahead and work with the 3 now. So 3 times 0, that will give us 0. 3 times 0, that will give us 0. And then 3 times 2, that's going to give us 6. Okay, make sure something that is very, very important is that your numbers are lined up, right? Line up the numbers. But always make sure that you line up the numbers. You add them up. Now, make sure that the numbers line up, right? I got the first 0 plus my 2 placeholders. I got my 2 zeros in my placeholder. Then I got the next row, and the next row. Super, super important that alignment is crucial. Alignment is very, very important. Okay, so now we do the addition. So I have zeros here. 2 plus 0 plus 0 is 2. 1 plus 5 is 5 plus 0 is 5. And then 6 plus nothing is just a 6. Now, we're not done yet because if you remember, we actually had a decimal point right there. And there's a number with it to the right. So then what I like to do then is once I have my answer, have a decimal point all the way in the right, and I'm going to move it 1 place to the left. And that is when I'm going to place my final decimal. And so that's going to give me an answer of 6,520. Okay, so my answer is 6,520. So look at what I did here. This decimal here, I know that there's only 1 number to the right of the decimal point. So here at the end, I bring it back only once. And that's my final answer. Okay, so let's go ahead then and use the same method to solve B. So now I have 500 times 22.12. Now, once again, notice here that I'm just going to ignore the decimals right there. I'm going to ignore them, all right? So I'm just going to work my way. 2 times 0, 2 times 0, and then 2 times 5. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is give me 0, 0, and then 2 times 5 is 10. Now I need a placeholder, okay, because I'm going to work with the next number. Now for the next number, once again, I'm going to work with the 1 times 0, and then times 5. So 1 times 0, 1 times 0, 1 times 5. So then that's going to give me 0, 0, and 5, okay? Now I'm going to need 2 placeholders because I'm going to work with the next number. So 1, 2 placeholders. I'm going to work with the 2. So 2 times 0, 2 times 0, 2 times 5. Okay, so then I'm going to multiply 2 times 0, 0, 2 times 0, 0, 2 times 5 is 10. Okay, so now I need to multiply with one additional number. So now I need 3 placeholders. Okay, there we are. Okay, so now I'm going to work with the last 2. 2 times 0, 2 times 0, 2 times 5. So once again, 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. And then 2 times 5 is 10. Once again, you guys, here, it's really, really important that we line up the numbers. Line up the numbers, line up the numbers, line up the numbers, line up the numbers, line them up, and line them up. Then we do the addition. So this is 0, this is 0, this is 0. Then we have 1 plus 5 is 6. Then once again zeros, then 1 and 1. Now, here is the part where I have to still put my decimal in the right place. If you've noticed, my decimal point's right there, and I have 2 numbers to the right. Therefore, I have a decimal point here at the end. I bring it back once, twice, and I'm going to put it right there. And then my answer is 11,060. That's my answer there. Okay. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do the example number 1. So example number 1, introduction to partial products. So use partial products in the distributive property to calculate the product. If you guys remember, right, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab this 200, okay, and then I'm going to multiply it times 32 plus 200, and I'm going to multiply it times 0.6, okay. Now, you might be confused. Wait, why did I break the 2 and the 0.6? If you remember from the place value chart, if you have a set of numbers, say this is a 2, this is a 3, this is a 6, and you have a 2, a 3, a 4. Let's remember that this is 1/10. So this is this is in the tenths. This is over 1 over 100. So this is on the hundreds. Forget the th there is really what's gonna make the separation between the ones, tens, hundreds, and the decimals. Tenths, hundreds, thousands, right? Third one here is 1 over 1,000, right? Now again, this is in the ones, this is in the tens, hundreds, okay, so on and so forth, right? So because of that, then I separated that 32.6 into 32. And then just 0.6. That way I can use my distributive property and do the calculation a little easier. So now I can just say, right? So 2. Now, the way I like to multiply when you have zeros is for now, ignore the zeros. Ignore the zeros for now and multiply 2 times 32. That's going to give you 64. And now you add back the zeros. That's 6,400 plus, once again, let's ignore the zeros for now and multiply 2 times 6. That's going to give you 12, but then let's bring back the zeros. Okay, now here's what you need to remember. What you need to remember is that this is 0.6, meaning there's one number to the right of the decimal point. So then you need to bring this back 1 from the decimal point to the left. Bring it back, and that will make 120. Okay, so don't make that mistake. Gotta bring it back because you have it once right there. Now you gotta bring it back. So this is really 6,400 plus 120. So 6,400 plus 120. That will give you, that's 0, that's 2, that's 5, that's 6. So 6,520. There's your answer. Okay, so let's go to example number 2. So example number 2, use partial products and the distributive property to calculate the area of the rectangular patio shown below. So again, the distributive property is going to be, when you have a number, right? And then you have another set of numbers adding each other, and then you distribute it, right? A times B plus distributed into the C, A times C. Okay. So we have this 500, but the 22.12 looks kind of off, right? I mean, off in terms of like, it's going to be a little more complicated if I try to do the math in my head, or if I just try to do arithmetic, but I can use the distributive property to make it a little bit easier, right? If I do this, like saying, okay, I'm going to break this into like 22. So say like from here to here, right? From here to here, say you have about 22 feet. And then from this space here that's remaining here, that's like 0.12. Both of those together is 22.12, right? I'm just kind of breaking it into two different numbers so that it's easier for me to then do the calculation. I'm going to use the distributive property because then I'm going to distribute this 500 into the 22 and into the 12 to find the area. Okay, so what do I do here? Well, I'm going to grab the 500. Okay, so remember 500 times 22.12. So I'm going to break that 22.12 into first 22 and then 0.12. So then I will say 500 times 22 plus 500 times 0.12. Okay. So then I would just do my calculations, right? So now I multiply 5 times 22. 5 times 22, that's going to give me 110. Okay. Why? Because 5 times 10 is 50. 5 times 10 is 50. That's 100. 5 times 2 is 10. So 100 plus 10 is 110. Now, these two zeros, I just have to add them. And so I have 11,000 there. Plus, that actually tells you that the area here, in the space here at the bottom, right? It tells you that the area there is going to be 11,000 feet squared. That's what it is there, right? So now let's go ahead and multiply 500. Again, I'll just multiply 5 times 12. So 5 times 12 is going to give us 60. Why? Well, because 5 times 10 is 50. And then 5 times 2 is 10. 50 plus 10 is 60. Now, these two zeros, I can put them there. But then look at what's going to happen here. Notice that there's two numbers to the right of the decimal point. So my answer here must also have two numbers to the right of my decimal point, and that's really 60. So when I add them all together, so again, just for reference, that tells you that this part here at the top, this little part right there that has 0.12 feet, that has an area of 60 feet square. You add them both together and you get the area of this patio, right? So then 11,000 plus 60, that's just going to be 11,060 feet squared. Remember the area? Unit of measurement there is squared or square feet. All right. So that's example number 2. Okay, so now let's work on the exercises. And this, you're going to work on them with partners follow the instructions from your teacher to do this. Okay, so I've written some sample problems here to work with. Okay, so the first sample problem there is calculate the product of 300 times 25.4. First of all, the word product, it means answer to a multiplication problem. Okay, so I'm going to use the distributive property here. So first, I'm going to have 300. Okay, so in that 300, I'm going to distribute it into a 25.4. So first into the 25 plus 300 and now into the 0.4. You can just say 0.4, but I'm just adding the 0 just so that it kind of keeps me on track and I don't lose track of the numbers. Okay, so then once again, I multiply 3 times 25. That's going to give me 75. Then I just add these two zeros. Then that's 7,500 plus, once again, 3 times 4. That's just 12. Now I have 2 zeros, so I add 2. But once again, notice that there's one number to the right of that decimal there, and therefore the answer also has to have one number to the right of the decimal, and that will make it 120. Okay, so then I'll just do my addition. 7,500 plus 120. Make sure you line up the numbers correctly. So that's 0, 2, 6, 7. My answer is 7,620. Okay, so let's do station 2, sample 2 here. Okay, so calculate the product of 45.9 times 100. One of the things you guys need to remember is that 45.9 times 100, it's the same as 100 times 45.9. It's commutative property, right? So 4 times 5 is the same as 5 times 4. So then we use the 100 first, so make it a little easier. So we'll get 100. Then I'm going to distribute into the first into the 45. I'm going to break that 45 plus 100 times 0.9. Okay. So now multiply 1 times 45. That will give me 45. Then I add the 2 zeros. Gives me 4,500 plus 1 times 9. That will give me 9. Then I add the 2 zeros. Now remember, there's one number to the right of the decimal point. So then, therefore, there has to be one number there, and that's 90. So therefore, this is 4,500 plus 90. Make sure that you guys line up the numbers correctly. Okay, so 0 plus 0, 0. 0 plus 9 is 9. This is 5 and 4. So my answer is 4,590. Okay, so now let's go to station number 3. So station number 3. So in station number 3, it says calculate the product of 800 times 12.3. Okay, so once again, this 12.3, I'm going to break it first into 12, then into 0.3. Why? Because if you add them together, you get the same thing, right? This 12.3. So first, 800 times 12 plus 800 times 0.3. So then I do my multiplication. 8 times 12. So 8 times 12. So how do I do this? Okay, so think about it. 8. Let's pretend that the 12 is a 10. 8 times 10, that's 80. So that means that times 11 is 88. So that means that times 12, that'll give you 96. Okay, now you add these two numbers right there. So that's 9,600 plus. Now we multiply 8 times 3. That's 24. Now you add these 2 zeros. Now remember, there's one number to the right of the decimal. Therefore, I have that one decimal point right there, making it 240. So then I do my addition. 9,600 plus 240. So 0, 4, 0 plus 0, 0, 0 plus 4 is 4, 6 plus 2 is 8. And there's a 9. So my answer is 9,840. Okay, so now we go ahead and do station number 4. So station number 4. Calculate the product of 400 times 21.8. Okay, so first we have 400. First, I'm going to distribute it into the 21 plus 400. Then I'm going to distribute it into the 0.8. Okay, so now I multiply 4 times 21. Well, think about this. 4 times 10 is 40. So that means that 4 times 20 is 80. So that means that 4 times 21, it's 84. Then you add the 2 zeros. That's 8,400. So then you multiply 400 times 4 times 8. Okay, ignore the 2 zeros for now. Ignore them. So 4 times 8 is 32. And then now you add back the 2 zeros. Now remember, there's one decimal point. There's one number to the right of the decimal point. Therefore, you must also place a decimal point so that there's one to the right, and that makes it 320. So then I do my addition. That will be 8,400 plus 320. So 0 plus 0, 0. 0 plus 2 is 2. 4 plus 3 is 7. 408. So my answer is 8,720. Okay, and let's work on our last station here, station 5. It says calculate the product of 32.6 times 200. Now remember, it's easier if I multiply the number that's a whole number first, and then the number with the decimal second. Why? Well, again, we have the common multiplication property. So again, 4 times 5 is the same as 5 times 4. So 32.6 times 200 is the same as 200 times 32.6. So I start with my 200. Then I'm going to distribute first into the 32 plus 200. Then I'll distribute into the 0.6. So then I multiply. I ignore the zeros for now. So 2 times 32, that's going to give me 64. Now I add back my zeros. That's 6,400 plus. Then I multiply 2 times 6, or 6 times 2 is going to give me 12. Then I add those 2 zeros. But remember, there is this one number to the right. So therefore, I must also have a decimal point with 1 to the right, and that makes it 120. So I have 6,400 plus 120. So 0 plus 0, 0. 0 plus 2 is 2. 4 plus 1 is 5. And then 6. So 6,520. There's my answer. All right, so that is the end of this lesson. You have a problem set. Let me know if you have any questions. All right. Adios.